My name is Reyer. I'm the CEO and president of SEO Training, SW.com. And we've all began our internet journey becoming internet marketers various different ways. And just kind of give you a warning, my background, how I got into internet marketing. I was a cop. And I got trained, I was actually an undercover cop, working motorcycle gangs and groups like that. And I went through drug enforcement training back in the 80s. And one of the things, during this 1 week, 40-hour school they talked about was learning to learn everything about your target, how you can take them out, and know your target's fears, desires, and their objections. And really the goal of being a cop is, to come home safe every day at the end of the day. So it's kind of a little like internet marketing, right? We need to know who our target audience is, what their fears and desires are. And this really came into play in one of my earlier investigations as a narcotic officer. This was back in 1985. We set up an undercover bulletin board for credit card hackers, people that were scamming credit card numbers. And this was our first target. This was a biker. His name was Lurch. He was 36 years old. He was a road captain of the Dirty Dozen motorcycle gang, and one of his goals was to be integrated with the Hells Angels motorcycle gang. And his biggest objection was being caught by the cops and being labeled a snitch, because he would snitch off his gang. Well, I came in with my undercover persona and started chatting with him on this undercover bulletin board at that time in the 80s, and gained his trust through using various marketing methods. Well, this really intrigued me. And I figured, well, I could do this as a cop. When I retire, maybe I could do this, as a regular type of job. So when I retired in the 90s, 95, the internet was just starting. And I decided, hey, let me get into internet marketing. And what's a cop going to sell? Well, I first thought about handcuffs. That'll be kind of a kinky kind of website, selling handcuffs on the internet. Thought about guns, but I knew the ATF would be kicking down my door and raiding me. So what else? Radar detectors, right? So I joined the dark side, and I gave people tips on how to beat their traffic tickets, and gave ratings of radar detectors, and the website took off. Now, when I started my website back in the mid-90s, I had it in my mind who my perfect audience was, my perfect customer. I had in my mind it was somebody by the name of Brian, who was about 18 to 22 years old, who just graduated high school, who wanted to drive a fast car and didn't want to get tickets and lose his license. Well, sales were okay for the first 10 months. I was making about $2,000 extra a month. Not bad income for a retired cop trying to supplement his retirement. Well, I started noticing something. The people that were calling me up on the telephone were 35. And they had different needs and different wants. So what I did is then, through my survey, I identified what I called then my perfect customer. His name was Jerry. He was an insurance salesman. Jerry hated his job, and he wanted to buy a radar detector so he could drive down the highway in a Porsche, a car he would never be able to afford, with the top down, beating out the man. His biggest fear was having his wife find out that he spent $400 for a radar detector. Right, he came to buy a $200, but realized that didn't work. So I tweaked my messaging. I changed my messaging to target this one perfect customer. Something happened to our sales. We went from $2,000 a month to $100,000 a month just by doing that. All right, and this is why my presentation is about going to 0 to 7 figures. In 2007, our biggest competitor bought us out for 7 figures. So one thing I want to ask you guys, this is very successful for us, and we've worked with other clients in the SEO space, in consulting. And one of the first questions I always ask them, can you identify your one perfect customer? If that customer was walking through the door right now, what does he look like? Or what does she look like? What is she wearing? So just for a moment, just kind of close your eyes, those of you that have e-commerce sites or websites, and think about who your perfect customer is as they're walking through that door. What's their name? What's their income? Now open your eyes. Now, knowing who this one perfect customer is, wouldn't it be a lot easier for you to write the content on your website? wouldn't it be a lot easier to develop your imagery for your website? Because people like to do business with people just like themselves. It creates trust. Now, typically the way we have done this, identifying your perfect audience or your perfect customer, you go through surveys. And the problems with surveys, it's very time intensive. I remember doing this with my first website, Radar Busters. It took 8 to 10 months to figure out who my perfect customer was. And people have a tendency to tell you what they think you would like to hear. They lie to you. And they hold probably some important information because they're too embarrassed per se maybe to tell you that. And they're only going to ask questions or answer your questions to the questions that you're asking. They're not going to freely volunteer information. So this is a problem per se with surveys. Now, we've developed and worked with another form of identifying your perfect customer. And we've been very successful on our own websites and other client websites. And this is the power of taking your last 50 customers and blending them into one perfect customer. So gather your last 50 customers from your email accounts that purchased something and go to their Facebook page, go to their LinkedIn page, and look at what they're saying. Look what their interests and hobbies are. And what we do is we take a spreadsheet just like this, and this is actually going to walk you through how we did this for a website. It's an affiliate site for me, radardetector.org. And we put down their name. We put in their occupation, their age, their sex, their likes and dislikes. Let me give you an example on this one customer that we just worked with. Again, this is one of our customers for a website called radardetector.org. It's one of my affiliate websites. Right here on his Facebook page, we can see he's male, he's a truck driver, college education, married, sports fan, likes playing football. And we just go to some of the basic information in his profile. We could see his religion. We could see how old he is. From his photos, we can see what nationality is, his race. Also in his information, we can see what his college education, his background. This particular person had a background in computers and business management, but because of the economy crashing in 2007, he discussed in his wall post, he couldn't get a job. So he went back to trade school to learn how to drive a truck. And then we also go through, he bought a car in 2011, and he bought his first house. He quit smoking in 2010. This was his biggest goal in his life, and graduated high school in 1996. Now, are these questions you're going to would these be questions that you would typically ask a client or a customer of yours? Probably not. And you can see what his likes and dislikes are, what his musics are, what his action TV shows. He likes Dancing with the Stars and American Idol. And his hobbies, we can see that what his hobbies include, playing poker, and he enjoys four-wheeling, mudding, and Mustang cars. Now, how important that is that for somebody like myself who is marketing radar detectors to an individual? All right, I know what kind of cars they like, sports cars. Now, we go to his Facebook wall. And one of the biggest triggers with this particular individual was Gary being a truck driver. He liked freedom of the open road. So he emphasizes freedom throughout his wall. So this became a very important trigger for us in developing our content. He discusses his wife, because he's on the road, he uses social media to interact with his family and friends because he's on the road so much. And he talks about his wife. His wife has a degree in nursing, is very good with children, drives a school bus. And Gary also uses social media to leave reviews on businesses. Now, Gary's wife drives a newer subcompact car. It's important for Gary in his wall post for his wife to have the better type of car. All right, something because she has to take the kids to school. She has to take the kids to the soccer games. So Gary instead, he drives what he calls on his website or his wall a clunker because he can't afford that car. So we're understanding what some of the trigger points are, how Gary talks with his friends. And again, remember, Gary wants to do business with people just like himself. And again, in his employment, Gary's most important trigger word is freedom. So we compiled the last 50 customers on radardetector.org. And we made one perfect customer. And his name is Jerry. It's very important to know who your perfect customer's name is. And his name just happens to be Jerry. He's 58, he's white, he's married. His yearly income is $135,000. He's ready to retire from management. He's got a management job. He's looking to retire and get an RV and travel the country. Freedom of the open road. His car today is an SUV. Now with this information, knowing who our one perfect customer is for this particular website, don't you think it's going to be a lot easier for me to write my content, to put those images on the website? It's a lot easier. Now, this is one of our websites, our specialty today since selling my company, Radar Detector, Radar Busters. Jeanette, myself, David, we're involved in coaching other people on how to be equally successful as internet marketers. So if you'd like more information about any of the presentations that we do, some of the training, please come to our website, SEOtrainingsW.com. That is how I went from 0 to 7 figures. Thank you very much. Any questions?
So you do SEO training?
We do SEO training. We were part of the Search Engine Academy, and we recently left them because we were doing a lot of online training. We had given classes here in Vegas, but basically we're based out of Phoenix, Arizona. And we start off at the basic 2-day workshops, and we have the 3-day advanced workshops. In January, we were doing some PR, press release, public relations training, some Facebook training, and reputation management training. We have some experts within our industry that are coming out.
I guess the main reason I was asking is I do SEO training too, but mine is so small, it's like 10 people or something.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, from your perspective, I mean, I think there's plenty of business out there for training.
Oh, yeah, there is.
What would you recommend for a small guy like myself to be, get more?
Just develop, write good content, and become part of the community. One of the things I noticed, Jeanette, myself, David, we've trained literally hundreds and hundreds of people over the last, 4 or 5 years. And most of the people that come through our training, after they realize how much work it is, they don't want to do it. And we actually then spun off a second company that we do SEO, we actually do the client work for them.
So you frustrate them and then they just...
Yeah, we had to come up with another company because we were losing money to saying, well, go to Joe, go to Jack, or somebody like that. So training is a good aspect to go into. We've been very successful in that aspect. But also be prepared, because the students that we see, like the business owners that has a pizzeria, they realize how much work it's going to be. And they say, hey, I can't do this. Can you do it for me? Because you established the trust with them. And initially, again, we just handed them off to somebody else. Now we keep them because we have another section of our company to do that.
Well, that's why I started doing training, is because I wanted them to see how challenging it was when they became my customers. So it was like, for me, it was a marketing tool to be in front of a group of people who are like, yeah, here's free knowledge.
Yeah.
But, I see other organizations do it, and they're doing it in more mass, and like I said, I peak out at when I do an invitation, I peak out at 10 people or something like that.
That's it's good to, that's a good group to have. We keep our workshops very small. But again, it's good, we're very individualized, all right? I'm not coming off as some big corporate company. We've basically built a TV studio in our home. We have, students come to our workshop, we're right in our home, and we work with them right there. And it's establishing that relationship. Our messaging, of course, is different on SEO training, but we give that free content out. But it's like, you should be doing.
Right. What about fee structure? Like I charge $99 for a class with me.
I charge $1,000.
Oh, okay. Maybe I can charge $1,000. I'll get more.
All right. It's a perceived value.
Right.
Okay. Our 2-day workshops, our 3-day workshop is like $1,800. But we have, again, the instructors coming in, and we work hand on hand with each individual student. And we record that and we give that to the student afterwards.
Do you find that the people that go through your workshop and then come back to you and say, hey, can you do this SEO for me, are they better clients?
Oh yeah, they are. They understand it. They get it.
Okay.
All right?
I have clients
And you know, actually what we do if we have somebody come to us that hasn't been through our training, because we have a lot of the recordings that we have, you know, everything we train, every training session we have, we record it. If we're recording this, we give that client the information. Say, hey, look, this is how we're doing it. If you have, you know, this is how we do it. And you know, if you have any questions, and that helps ease the transition, because a lot of times they just don't get it. Right. And then, you know, once they understand it, what's involved in it, they're more apt to, you know, work with you, because you know there's a lot that falls back on the client, things that they need to do. Cool. Thank you very much.